Hello, we're live.
All right, welcome to another debrief. What are we at, numbers 7 or 8 at this point?
Hello, we're live.
Nice to see you trucking along still, making some progress here on the old weekly recaps of
The
the
old
matches.
weekly.
Although there are going to be less, I suppose, in a way, because we are hitting the end of the season here, and then we're going to be going to two lands, which hopefully we'll be able to kind of work some podcasts around so we can kind of recap some of that stuff, because that's going to be a lot of land play. So that should be interesting. Obviously, I'm going to be both of those. I'm not sure if Helbee will be able to be both those. I think probably will be able to be at Atlantic City, maybe. Helbee, no,
I don't know yet. It's gonna be hard.
hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. But we need to take a couple day off for it. Maybe. If I ever go, it's gonna be like by car. Just driving there.
Yes,
It's about 10 hours. It's
yeah,
not
it's a
that
short
bad for
drive.
a weekend, but you know,
Yeah, it could take a minute, but
a
it
minute.
should be good though.
It should. I mean, now that we know every team that are gonna be there,
Yeah,
definitely
so
going to be
just
interesting. I mean, not a
I
lot of
guess.
upset this week, aside from Millennium and One
Well,
Up.
yeah, the one at Millennium. Yeah, I would definitely say that's the biggest upset. Although there was some ones that the score lines doesn't really like reveal until you look at it like I mean, obviously we're kind of just jumping into the matches, but Liquid versus Team One was one of those ones where it was like a 6-5, 6-5. So it was like, yeah, it was a 2-0, but it was like the edge of a 2-0.
It was close, yeah. I mean,
So
more often than not, the score itself doesn't show a whole lot about a game. Sometimes it's even closer, but like every round is close, but the attacking
yeah,
team or the defense team just win it all by a clutch or whatever. And sometimes even a game that's like 5-2, 5-3 is just close game still.
yeah. I mean, looking at the infographic stuff helps a little bit with that when you look at the players and the scores and all that. But I almost feel like we need a better way to like represent how close rounds were, like some other set of metrics or something, because it would be interesting to see like a bit better, like a way to have a nice overview of like, oh, this match was a 2-0, but it was really close on these rounds because of this. Or I mean, I guess that's technically our job here, but like, maybe that's something we can work towards for CGG for the future, is just expanding the way to display kind of the weekend recap. But
I think yeah, it's definitely the numbers more often than not are not showing a lot when it comes to score or just the impact you have on a team because a lot of it
yeah,
is just communication, just playing your role, and if your role is not frag heavy, well, it's hard to quantify the impact you have on a game, especially when you don't have communication, and I mean we don't have access to it, so there's a lot of stuff coming in to play in Rainbow Six that determines whether you did well or no.
yeah. I mean, obviously the meta shifts over like time, not just between seasons, but also during the season. Really, like I feel like there was quite a few things we've seen shifting throughout this season. Like I feel like while Lion is still kind of a pain, like we're seeing teams learning to deal with it better a lot of times, and just kind of working out different ways to play their defenses, or some teams leaning too heavily, for example, on Lion, and it kind of weakening their attacks overall, things like that. So I don't know. It's been interesting to watch it develop. Although obviously he's going to get the nerf at some point. Probably not. I would imagine mid-season reinforcements, which obviously is not happening during the play days, but may happen before LAN. So I'm curious if we'll see if he's going to get nerfed before LAN. We could see the meta shift even more for Atlantic City and Austin.
We could, but I mean, some teams are just ready for it. If you look at Rogue, they did pretty well without even using Lion all that much. I mean, they still used him this season,
Yeah,
and in the
less
last
so than
2 weeks. But
though.
they're not relying on Lion to be good. And well, I'm sure whatever happened, they'll be ready anyway. So that's going to be a team to look for, especially if they switch it up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a team like Rogue is going to have extra strength going into the LAN events if that nerf is in place, which is, that'll be nice because, I mean, while EG are a strong team either way, I do feel like they have been using Lion fairly consistently. And I don't think BC has been terribly impressive on Lion. I mean, I'm not expecting a lot necessarily. It's like the Lion player is generally going to be playing it back. He's going to be watching an angle or working a drone or whatever to stay alive and use his thing. So in that sense, he's been doing his job, but it's just we've seen so much good play from BC in the past, and to sit him on a Lion role has kind of felt like a
Especially at
waste.
the Invitational, that was just
Yeah.
wonderful. Just his like grenade and explosive plays in
Yeah.
general.
I can't wait to
It's
see Lion nerf just so he can play something
right,
else.
exactly. I think the main reason why I want to see Lion nerf right now is to see BC do like something else
Yeah.
on Buck, or just put him on the role that he was actually having a maybe not a bigger impact because he's having one right now still, but I mean
Yeah.
something that's fun to look at, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in his place, though, to be fair, like people like Young have been stepping it up even more. Like Young was always a good player, but like he was doing a lot more support stuff sometimes in previous seasons, and he's always like a decent fragger, but he wasn't necessarily playing the roles to do that. And I feel like this season, especially, and maybe a little bit back in Invitational, he's really been stepping it up. Like NVK is usually fairly on, although sometimes hot and cold. But well, hot and cold was on the other team, but you know what I mean. But Young's definitely been stepping it up, and it's just I would like to see BC able to kind of get in that place again as well. And I think maybe once that nerf is in place, we'll see a bit more spread across the team. But
Yeah.
I mean,
And
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I don't think they will change Lion before the season like that at all. I think they were willing to wait even more now because like they say they were not gonna be doing mid-season reinforcement or whatever, which is kind of weird, but
Well, so no, that what this just to be clear to everyone that completely misunderstood what they said. So clearly, what they were saying was we are not going to do the big operator
yeah,
like redos, the big huge revamps, like where they literally change like an operator by adding like a new feature, like what they did with Doc or Capcan or even that the one Twitch one they did, or the Glass one, like all those kind of ones are not going to be happening mid-season because they're too big of a change. However, they still said operator balancing will still be
okay,
a thing. So the idea is like if they needed to do something with like
Lion,
Lion, for example, they still will. It's just that's not a huge change, but it is one to kind of balance it. Unfortunately, it obviously didn't happen mid-season of the play seasons, but maybe mid-season of the 3 months. I'm not sure uh, where that falls calendar-wise and when they'll actually do it, because unfortunately they haven't even put it on the TTS yet. So it's like it'll be,
yeah,
I don't know if it'll be like live or they'll do TTS first. It's hard to say. I mean, they did a TTS test for the Lions changes and accidentally for the drop shot and the
yeah.
recoil stuff. So like they have tested some stuff, but I don't think that was finished version stuff.
That I mean, I'd really be surprised if they nerf Lion before LAN, but I think it would be a welcome change, especially coming from the
Well,
pros that are kind of tired of it.
there is at least two lands with about a 2 week gap between
Yeah,
them.
that's true.
So there is a chance that if we don't see it before Atlantic City, we might see it before Austin at least. Because I would think that like usually they release the DLC after the LAN events, like usually right after. Although they've been doing it on TTS first, so
Yeah.
that makes me think that if okay, logically it doesn't make any sense to do a mid-season reinforcement after Atlantic City because that's when you're already getting ready for the DLC release. So to me, it makes a lot more sense to do it maybe right after relegations. It's hard to say, like, because otherwise you're doing it kind of too close to the DLC release that it's kind of pointless at that point. It's not a mid-season reinforcement anymore. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what their actual schedule is.
There's no yeah.
Even if I did, it probably is too in flux anyway. So
yeah, I mean we're starting to see some leaks about the new operators, so I guess it's coming because usually we see them maybe a month before release, and that's pretty much where we're at right now, like close to a month and maybe a week or two, depending on when they release it on the TTS. But I mean it's coming. It's gonna shake up the meta probably not. I don't know.
Yeah.
If they nerf Lion with that patch, this is probably the biggest change we'll have. And new format, less Lion. Help me in.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. The chances are that won't be the only change, right? They're likely to do more than one.
Oh, probably, yeah.
So
Mhm.
I would really like to see the drop shotting thing in there though, because I know we still see tons and tons of drop shotting in Pro League. Because why wouldn't you do it when it's a thing? Like you're kind of handicapping yourself if you don't. But all the pros would be happy for it to not be a thing.
I like how they were going with drop shotting, and they said, yeah, it was not supposed to be in a TTS, but it's there, so give us feedback. And the only feedback I have is just put it in a game already. It's good.
I think that's what everyone said.
There's no problem with it. Just put it in there.
There was very few people whining about it. I think overall it was like, yeah, this is good, which is surprising for any kind of change that's usually made to this game. It's usually there's a kind of mixed bag, but I think that was overall one of the better changes in terms of
in that
like,
TTS,
everyone
yeah.
universally agreeing with it.
I mean, it's simple yet efficient, so why not?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll see, and that may even affect how certain operators are played and stuff like that in the future. We'll see.
Yeah,
But,
a lot of people are gonna have to change a bit how they play because some people still rely on drop shotting in their the way they engage in fights, which is a strong way to play right now. So why not? But as soon as the drop shot kind of get nerfed, you might have a bad habit of still doing it and lose gunfight because of it.
pretty much. It sounds like there's some discussion in the chat about Mav's or Mav or whatever's two semi aces, like his technical ace and his regular ace. So yeah, just to be clear for anyone who didn't catch it, Mav got one regular ace and then one technical ace, as Kix put it, because one of the players he downed but didn't finish. So I consider that technical. I consider that an ace as long as they won that round. Then that person died either way. So like it doesn't matter. So yeah, I would say he got two aces essentially, which is amazing. Like it was a very, very good play
In a
for
weekday.
Mav.
Yeah, that's
So
yeah, impressive. But I think we can move on to the first match of the last week, which was North
yeah,
America, EG against SK.
yeah, we were talking a little bit about it already. I was talking about Young and stuff like that. It was nice to see in some ways a reversal on in terms of who was doing well in SK because we've kind of seen everyone get a turn. We saw Min have a really good week. We saw Pojo have a good week. We saw Hot and Cold have a good week. This time it was Jarvis and Adam's turn. Well, especially Adam with that Vigil ace like that he pulled out of hiding in the little storage electrical room.
Oh
there.
yeah, that was good. I mean,
Everyone enjoyed that.
this was planned all the way up to the beginning because you see Hot and Cold playing in stock room at the beginning with the hatch open, just trying to get all their drones towards him and all the attention on him, so people don't focus on Adam, who was hiding in a cardboard box. And well, that worked out wonderful as Adam got an ace, I think, on that round.
Yeah, Jarvis has a good Vigil play as well. So I think I've like Vigil has been a strong operator overall for SK. I'd say they're one of the teams that's been using Vigil really well. So between those two, you got to see that for sure. So that was a good week for them. Unfortunately, it was not a great week score wise because it was still a 2-0 from EG. It was still, I
Yeah,
believe, a 5-2,
5-1,
5-2.
5-3. I feel like in this
Or no,
case, it's not representing a whole lot
oh yeah,
of how
5
the
one
game
5 3. So
went.
essentially a 5-2, 5-2.
It felt closer than that a bit to me.
Yeah, it really did because again, it was like one of those things where you don't necessarily see how close the rounds were just from the scores. And I think SK have made a strong showing, but unfortunately only two get to land. So
Yeah, but I mean, judging by their tweet and how they talked about the game afterwards, I think they're happy with like where the team is right now.
I hope they're
And
going to
I think
Austin at least.
I think
See
it's
them
gonna
land.
improve. Yeah, I think they're on the right path to figure out what works for them.
I'd like to see. Can you imagine a week where all of them do well though? Then that would be a good week for SK for sure.
Yeah, consistency is
Instead of
probably
taking
their
turns.
biggest weakness right now.
Yeah, I feel like Mint's maybe been leaning it too much on blitz. He's a really good blitz, but like I feel like they keep pulling that out when like nothing else is working. And maybe they need a better backup than that because it doesn't seem to work as well now as it did at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it's. I mean, like I said, it feels like they're slowly coming on the right path. They figured like the roles and how they want to play the games. It felt like a lot like sharper than previous weeks and maybe month.
Yeah,
Looking forward to see them play again next season for sure, and hopefully in Austin.
I hope so. Like I would like to see that.
That'd be great. And I mean, in the
We
meantime,
don't
we'll
really
see
know who's
EG
going to
again.
Austin at all. So
EG still looking good, still adapting. It's just force to reckon with in NA for sure again. Like their gap where they were not all that great when they picked up BC about a couple months ago. They definitely improved on that, and right now they are in a good spot where they're really really hard to beat. And it's gonna be interesting to see at LAN. I mean, they lost kind of through the final at the Invitational, and hopefully they can redeem themselves this at this LAN, and maybe in Austin even.
yeah, we'll see. But there was also Rogue SSG was a really good match. SSG though was not doing as well as I would have liked for sure. That
Me
was
neither.
like it was Thinking Nade and then four other guys.
Pretty much.
Like I mean, Thinking Nade wasn't like a god or something, but compared to the rest of his team, like it felt like he was the only one really showing up, which was unfortunate for that team. I think Nade usually does pretty well, but it was like this was a really bad day for Redeemer, and I think that definitely costs the team a lot because he's a good player. And some of the other players just not doing as well. I mean, Dave's been kind of not really doing great most weeks, unfortunately. He's kind of the off and on player. And like, I feel like if they had had King Leo in his place, like they'd be doing better overall, unfortunately. And Chala also didn't have a great day. It wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't his best. He still played okay, but.
I mean, we were speaking of consistency with SK, and that's probably the case with SSG again.
Yeah.
It's either they start like super late in the game, they struggle to just get started and just like get up to pace with the other team, and then they just try to do good. But when you play against a team like Rogue, they're not gonna let you like. They're not gonna give anything to you. So if you don't take it all, you're just gonna get shut down, and that's pretty much what happened there. 5-2, 5-2.
Trippin did okay at least too. So like I mean some of the better players did okay, but like Redeemer and Chala not doing as great as usual.
Couple nutty play on Mira for sure on border.
Yeah. As far as Rogue goes though, like there's been some good consistency there for the most part with like easily showing up every single week. Like he's the outside of Geo, he's the newest member and like he just shows up every single time. Like without a doubt. Like he is the most consistent best player on that team. I mean, Geo does okay. Slash actually, I think, showed up a bit more this time. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to judge Slash's play too much because I feel like he dies a lot, but I feel like sometimes he's dying doing what he's supposed to be doing.
There's a reason to his death.
Yeah, we don't always know the strat, so it's like I feel like sometimes I judge his deaths probably a little more harshly than I should because I think he's really helping the team out and doing what he's supposed to be doing. But in that same regard, I can't say the same for Eclipse, which is unfortunate because I know Eclipse is capable of a lot better than what we've been seeing, and he's just been dying really early a lot, and I can't imagine that's to the benefit of the team when you die that early. So I'm wondering what's going on with him. I'm not sure if just the roles he's playing are just not working out as well, but he's still. I mean, even playing roles that he seemed comfortable on before. I'm just not seeing the Eclipse that I expect, and I hope that. Whatever it is, he can correct it because he's a fantastic player.
And hopefully it was just an off day for him because, for Rogue, it's scary. If you can win that strongly against SSG and a player like Echo is basically doing nothing the whole game.
Yeah, that means they're all strong.
This is crazy. I don't want to play Rogue on a good day where Echo is on a good day.
It's definitely a team that's come up and fixed any of their weaknesses.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of it has to do with easily joining. Like I think he's bringing a lot of structure to the team and just general in-game consistency in how they play, communication, and just getting everything to work together as well as it is right now.
Yeah, and from what we hear too, Geo is also like a really smart player that brings a lot of intelligence to the team as well. So I think they're bringing a lot of smarts and fragging power together, and I think they're going to get up to giving EG a run for their money come these LAN events, especially if they're both in different brackets and have a chance to play each other early or late. I don't know.
Yeah,
it'll be good.
I mean, there's the seeding match this week, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if that'll be on stream or not. I don't think it will be on the main stream.
Come on, we want to see it. It's Rogue against EG. It's gonna be a good game.
Well, generally the seeding matches are not good games.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, if you think about it, like you don't want to use your good strats.
No, for sure, but you can still play default and just try some new stuff.
Yeah, but then that's like watching 10-mans at that point.
It is. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we'll see though. We'll see. I mean, there are Challenger League matches as well, Challenger League finals. So I'm not sure if those will be on the mainstream or what, but
as I think everyone was expecting, Beast Coast is making it to the relegation, which is good.
Yeah, I know Noble played good as well, but I'm not sure if they're in position for that or not. I don't know if they're the other top.
No, Noble won against Orgless, and I was kind of surprised Noble would win that. And I thought Orgless had this.
The match between Noble and Beast Coast, if I remember correctly, was pretty good as well. If there was,
I don't remember.
If I'm not misthinking that.
But right now in relegation, it's Noble and Beast Coast, and I gotta say it, Noble was surprising. Winning just 5-0 like that against Orgless in Oregon was crazy. I never saw that coming.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, already like the teams that are going to be in relegations for Pro League haven't been doing so great. So I feel like there's a chance we'll see
Maybe
Beast
a new
Coast and
team.
maybe
Hmm.
Noble get in.
Depending on the seeding and who plays against who, I think it's possible we see Beast Coast
Yeah, I think it's
getting
very
in.
likely. Just because the bottom of the Pro League's weak and they've been pretty strong and they bring some Pro League experience. Spleck points out too, part of the reason you're not seeing as much of the seeding matches is because they don't matter for next season because the format's
They
different and
don't.
all that. So
Hmm.
that is a thing. Also, as Fister brings up, the other two teams from EU coming in, one of which a lot of people should be familiar with is I don't know, who should be barred from playing until they come up with a real name.
Shredded their way in there. Holy.
and then Supremacy, who are not obviously the same Supremacy, who are now Vitality, but another team picked up by the Supremacy org.
Mhm.
So that's good for Supremacy picking up at least another team that has some potential to get in there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely looking forward to see the relegation game of I don't know. This is a team that sadly lost their spot in PL, and hopefully they'll get it back because it's a team that. And honestly, just looking at it this way, I think it was good for the team to just like get relegated back in Challenger League, just so they can start over, focus, start new, and just right now they're looking stronger than they were last season in Pro League.
Yeah.
Way stronger. So there's a possibility we'll see them in Pro League.
I think it's likely. I
Strong
mean, I don't
believer of
remember
this.
who's going to relegations from EU, but if it's a team like Oplon or something, I can
I think it
see
is.
I don't know beating them. And Finn says Supremacy is ex-Dislone players, which sounds about right. I don't remember 100% because I don't track EU Challenger League all that well, but I think that's probably correct. I will be double checking everything before we go to cast any of those relegations matches, but um, oh, Ents is the other team. That's right. Oplon and Ents.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I can see Oplon going out. Ents just needs to get their act together is all.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think we've seen a tweet this week from people over at Ents saying they're feeling good and they swapped out roles. So something new, different way of playing the game, and hopefully it works for them.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see if Ents can get it back to the way they were. I would love to see them stay, but if they can't, then they probably should just get relegated out. Sadly.
Yeah, this week was not this week, but this season for them was really weak.
Yeah, really bad. But moving on to Latin America, who I guess their Challenger League isn't fully decided maybe yet. We had some interesting matches this week. I mentioned one of them earlier, which was the Liquid versus Team One. As me and Parker were saying, I think Team One is a bit underrated. That were I believe Roger Hino before. They played really well. They brought it to 6-5-6-5 for Liquid, and some of that was due to like them actually getting the plant down a lot as a team. Like I think out of everyone, they got the plant down the most out of any team this week. Because if I remember I was looking at the stats, it was like 5 plants for them or something like that, which was like way more than anyone else. Yeah, 5 plants down by just GDN himself. Compared to everyone else.
Pretty
like,
good.
I mean, there was some other teams that got 5. Like Liquid also got 5 plants down from 2 different players, so it was like they both got a lot of plants down. But I think they made those really close matches because of those. And I look forward to one up sticking around, or not one up, Team One. I look forward to one up as well, but Team One sticking around and actually like being a really strong team maybe next season if they don't disband and they just like keep doing what they're doing. Whereas Liquid, I think, is still weaker than they should be. They're still kind of not playing as great as they did before last Invitational, I think.
I haven't had a whole lot of time to go around Latin America. I usually watch it while being somewhat attentive, doing other stuff, just so I'm at least somewhat exposed to it. But I mean, FaZe and Liquid, I think it was predictable to see those two teams going to Atlantic. So
yeah,
I don't think there's a big
I don't know.
surprise there.
I mean, it makes the most sense in the sense that obviously Liquid is the team that beat FaZe, so it makes sense to have Liquid in FaZe, like just logically between those two. But it is sometimes disappointing to see some of those other teams playing pretty well. Like Black Dragon's not going, I think, is a big surprise to some people. But it was up against FaZe, and FaZe are so
Looking
strong.
good. They're looking good.
Yeah. So outside of the match against Liquid, they've been looking great. So.
And I mean, there's not much to say there. It's just two strong team. They know each other. They've been playing together for a while. Black Dragon, I think, have been playing together too, but they need to figure it out. And as a whole, like we said previous week, Brazil just feels more puggish than NA and EU.
It's been a
And
bad season for Latin America.
it's yeah, I thought this season would be theirs, especially with the way
Well,
attack
that's the thing
is
is Lions freezes,
offensive. Yeah,
freezes all those
yeah,
agitated players that like to move around a lot.
yeah. I guess that's it. I thought it would go the other way, and like some teams would just figure it out and be super aggressive, but
I guess
it's
it
just
has gone the other way because defense wins a lot more, I think, in Latin America than some of the other regions. Maybe not stats wise, I'm not sure, but I feel like I see a lot more rounds go defensive wise on certain maps and bomb sites than I do for other regions.
yeah. They just to me they don't feel as coordinated and just it felt like I said puggish, just weird.
It
I don't
really
know. I
seems,
don't know what happened there, but it's they'll figure it out at some point. Hopefully,
yeah.
they'll definitely
I
show up at Atlantic. I hope.
I don't see them showing up very strong in Atlantic City, but at the same time, like maybe if Lion is nerfed before that, we may see change ups in who plays well, because we have seen obviously the meta shift, making some teams stronger or weaker. So it's possible we could see them do better, but I just don't feel like this is a season for Latin America to even make it to the grand finals at the LAN event. I don't see more than even one of them maybe going to Austin. So they're probably not looking at a LAN till for at least 6 months for them that they do well at.
That's harsh. That's harsh.
I know it's harsh, but they have BR6 all the time. They have LANs
Yeah, they
all
do.
the time, so it's only fair, right?
It's only fair.
I would honestly, being in North America, I would like to see one of the two LANs go over to North American team. Obviously, I'm biased because I'm North American myself, and I get a little bored of just watching Penta win all the time.
It's getting old.
Yeah, it's getting a little old. Although this is the season that's been a bit of a struggle for them. Their match this week, for example, against Vitality, they dropped the map. The week before that, I believe it was, they dropped the map. So it's been, and that was that the one against Millennium where they dropped the map as well, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But Millennium is the other team that's going, so it's I guess not as bad. But still, it was like it's just not been a great season for them. I was just talking to Shaz right before that we started the thing, and I was trying to figure out like what it is it that's going on with Penta that they are struggling so much this season. And I think he kind of just said it was mostly Lion kind of mixing up how they play and sometimes in lowering the skill ceiling a little bit, kind of making the teams a little closer to them.
Yeah.
And also that some of the players just like to move a lot more, and now they're kind of being constrained in their play style and kind of hurting team morality. So, I mean, all those things seem to track kind of with what we've seen in terms of some of the stiffness of the play and sometimes some issues with playing a little sloppier. So I feel like, especially if there's a Lion nerf before Invitational,
That'd be great.
or not Invitational, but I mean LAN, that Penta are going to show up even stronger at LAN.
I mean, Lion is definitely lowering the skill gap. That's for sure.
Yeah. It still can be used as too much of a crutch, though. You see some teams really
he is. It could be way worse than that, I think. But I mean, please don't make it worse. Just nerf him so we don't have to play him, and then after that, there's gonna be ban phase, and if you don't want to play him, just ban him.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good.
But speaking of the Penta versus Vitality, holy crap, Pangu carrying super hard.
That was a great game.
A plus 18 for that match.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So he definitely had a good match for sure. Goga and Junis have been kind of taking turns struggling a little bit though, sadly.
Pangu is probably one of the most consistent player out there. It's crazy. It's always good.
What's interesting is the flexibility of his roles too. You'll see him kind of swap out roles with other people and stuff like that, and just do really well with a variety of things. Like you see him do well with like Monty, and you're like, what? So I don't know. Fabian's been showing up pretty well this season, though. He's not always like top fragging or anything, but like for someone that, it doesn't necessarily have to be their top fragger. He's been doing pretty well. Shate's been a little up and down. I think so. There's some rounds where he really shows up, and some rounds where I'm maybe a little disappointed, but it depends on what he's trying to do.
But I think it, like you said, and when you were talking to Shaz, I think it all comes down to, Lion disrupting a lot of how they play. But I mean, just looking at it, I love seeing Vitality play. It's just refreshing to see something new. I know a lot of people don't like it because, it's slow, methodic, not much happened until the very last second of the game, but when you take time to look at it, it's just it's perfect sometimes. They just set up, people watch, like I'm just going to take an example at some point. There's a glass outside of windows. Most of the time you'll see he's going to need to open the window to look into blue of coastline. But he's not doing it. He's waiting 30 to 45 seconds so his team prep. And when his team is finally ready to do it, he opens it. But usually, what you'll see from people is just open it, and while your team's set up, just try to get a pick. Then they end up dying, and then their push kind of messed up. But Vitality, they're just so patient, and they don't do anything until everyone on the team is ready. And when they're ready, there's 5 seconds left on the countdown, but it still works because they're pushing from 5 different sides, and the defenders are all focused on the bomb planning, and they just get caught off in like rotation and just from behind. It's just good, and it's refreshing to see that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Zephyr has been kind of struggling outside of sometimes his Glaz play. And that's been a little hard to watch because I think he's a really good player, but sometimes he's, I don't know, been, especially that match. Same with Rafael. It was just not as good as we'd expect. But like Spark and Brid and Bibu have all been really showing up really well this season. Like Brid had a really good week last week, for example, and Bibu's pretty much always showing up, and Spark has been really good as well. So I think if they can just get Rafael and Zephyr to show up as consistently as the other three do, Vitality definitely have a shot at maybe going to the next LAN.
I mean, I think this season, if the final match of this bracket was not Penta Vitality, I think we would have seen Vitality and Penta going to Atlantic for sure.
I guess then the other option would have been maybe Vitality 1-up or something. If that had gone down, it might have been interesting to see how that shook out. But I was surprised to see how poorly 1-up did. But it was interesting in regards to the conversation during the interview with Liven, because he was saying, that they worked because Militia brought up their problems with dealing with roamers, and Liven had said they've been working on that, and that really showed up. Like that showed just like that focus on them changing that up and improving that led to them getting a 2-0. So that was even Hicks did good.
Even Hicks.
Comparatively. So it was just, I don't know, it was a lot better for them. Like overall, all of Millennium did pretty good that one. Whereas like outside of Rips, most of 1-up kind of struggled. Like they're playing the roams and stuff like that. Just the way they were just did not work. And then Para, of course, I don't know. He can really have some really good days as a roamer, and then there's days where he just gets shut down time and time and time and time again, and just doesn't do anything other than die. It seems, and it's unfortunate when that happened.
That was one of those days where everything 1-up was doing, it was nothing alike the game they did against Digital Chaos, where they looked super strong. They looked, they played as a team. It felt like it was one player controlling the 5 operators at once, and it was just well placed. The timing were good, and now it just felt sloppy a bit compared to what we were used to see from them.
I feel like maybe Millennium did study what they done previously.
So
those maps they played.
I can't tell if it's 1-up just not showing up or Millennium just big time showing up this time.
I think it was a little bit of both. I think Millennium showed up more than they expected, and I think that kind of weakened what they were doing, and they didn't have a backup plan, would be my guess, because they weren't switching roles a lot in ways that suggested they had other strats other than like, oh, we'll attack Penthouse from Hall of Fame instead of from the stairs.
Yeah.
Like it didn't seem like there was a huge amount of switch ups, and I think some lack of flexibility is ultimately what cost them, because Millennium seemed ready for what they were doing. But
no, and I mean the strategy used on this were usual one. Some things we're all comfortable to look at. We all know what's going on. We can predict what's going on. And it was pretty much, the whole game. Nothing new came out of that one.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. I look forward to them next season for sure. If they don't change much up, I think they could be really strong. I think they still got to figure out like the right place for Para to be playing his roams correctly. Like, because they were even on a 3-man roam and still somehow just, I don't know. Millennium's boot camping really paid off, I guess. I expect if they could just be a little more flexible. I mean, to be fair, KS said they did change some things going into that match, and obviously some of those didn't work, but they didn't seem like they had something to go back to or to, I don't know.
Alternative.
Lack of flexibility, yeah.
Yeah. It just felt this way for real. It's unfortunate because I was really seeing 1-up just winning this one.
Yeah,
but
I thought they were going to be going.
I'm glad I'm wrong. I'm always glad to be proven wrong like that.
Yeah, I mean, Millennium have been working for this for a while, and they seem like they've been really fixing a lot of their issues, and that's paying off for them. I mean, they gave a good run for the money to Penta, and then stepped it up even more. And so I guess in that sense, it's not a surprise to see them going.
See them. Yeah.
So it's been a while for them outside of like I think Invitational that they've gone to one of these season finals. So
It's been a while
like
for
going
sure.
back to Youngtis.
Oh, Youngtis.
So
Oof, memory.
yeah,
But
but
I wanted to come back to Penta and
yeah,
Vitality. I think right now those are the number 1 and number 2 in EU, and it's just unfortunate. The seeding was a little bit messed up because it's the seeding from a couple of months ago, back from the season that started around
well,
September of 2017.
thankfully next season no more problems with seeding
Yeah,
brackets, groups, any of that jazz, because that's cost a lot of people land spots and things like that because of the way the brackets went down. But we don't have brackets next season. Everyone plays everyone twice, and that I think will shake out a lot more fair. Outside of the fact that maybe if like the DLC that comes out in the middle of the season somehow favors one team more than another, like that could affect the second set of round robins. But
yeah, maybe.
outside of that,
But the format is still
but
interesting. Seeing everyone play against everyone twice in 6 months is good.
yeah. And who knows? Maybe we'll even see it to where like they just don't bring in the new operators right away into the mid season, like for the second half. If they just leave them out and say like we'll rotate them in for the season after,
And I mean,
like that could be interesting. I guess.
if you really don't want to play with the new operators, you can just ban them on the next season, so you don't have
That's
to
true.
really worry about it.
Yeah, good
If you're
point.
not
Good point. So
comfortable
maybe they
in,
will. Maybe they will leave them in then.
yeah, I mean, maybe it depends on all the team. It's gonna be a mess to scrim right now because
Yeah.
if you want to practice against a specific strategy, you really can't. So you really need to focus on adaptability and just
Yeah.
figuring out things mid game and just being able to shut down whatever comes at you.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting. I mean, we have the line nerf coming, so hopefully a ban won't have to be wasted online in the future.
Yeah.
And people could just focus on whether or not it's worth banning any of the new operators that come out in the next DLC. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we'll get anything as game shifting as Lion, but hopefully it does have a positive influence on the meta. So we'll see. But
Hopefully.
I do think everyone is a little worried that the Glazig meta will just come back when Lion's nerfed. That's still going to be a thing. So I don't know if the new ops will affect that or not. But they are defensive ops, so that will be against
Yeah.
the two offensive ops. So there's a chance that if one of them does positively affect that meta, that we could see that at least tempered a little bit and not be a terrible thing. Although I feel like even with all the hype around that, we're not seeing it as much. Like we're seeing kind of either those two ops more individually than together, which is surprising considering how well they work together. But teams do what teams want to do. You only get 5 operators, no matter how many are interesting to you.
That's true. And I mean, you only get 2 bans too. One offense,
Yeah.
one defense. So you can somewhat ban what you don't like, but there's
Man,
a
I wish
limit
they
to
would.
it.
I would love if they would like debut that system at Austin. Maybe not at the
That'd be
finals for the
cool.
season, but at Austin where teams aren't necessarily playing off of their season records and kind of get a chance to kind of give teams that could adapt fast the ability to really showcase it. DreamHack. I don't know. Maybe I could push them on that if they have that build ready.
There's definitely going to be a show match with it at LAN.
Yeah.
Because it's like a new feature that's releasing for the next season. So I'm assuming they get a new map, you put a couple player in there, and you just give them, all right, here's the ban phase, here's how it works, it's in game, have fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna bug BK about that and be like, let's really introduce that. Let's tell teams now and introduce that, please.
That'd be cool. And I mean,
that would be a good debut.
I think the pro player show match, all-star match, sorry, that's what I was looking for. I think the all-stars match was a big success, and I hope they do more.
Again. That was fun.
I hope they do more, because that game was fantastic.
Yeah, that was, honestly though, like that was a long shot in being a good game. There was a good chance that could have been a terrible match.
Yeah, it could have been.
Everyone was like in good spirits, and I think it helped blow off tension before the grand final, and I think that was part of it. And it was teams that like weren't getting to play in the finals anyways, and like I think a lot of factors worked for it, but I think it was a big like fingers crossed, I hope this works kind of moment. That could have just been just terrible.
And now I just want more, because the player just really got into it. They were like, all right, let's meme, let's have fun, let's knife fight, let's go.
Which you had funny situations too, like Sky's having to play with all Brazilians.
Yeah.
And just memeing on everybody, like bragging, like, oh, we're gonna win, and like I don't know, just there was some fun flavor to it. I think based off the way things worked out too. So maybe we'll have to craft it carefully this time to make sure that it turns out as well.
It was fantastic.
Getting a question on when DreamHack NA is, and that's June 1st through 3rd. is Austin DreamHack. So that'll be those that weekend. So that should be good. I'm not sure. So the format of that too is for anyone who didn't see the releases and all that. Here's the way that the DreamHack Austin is going to work for Rainbow Six. There are currently 12 invite spots for Pro League teams, first come, first serve, that sign up and confirm their spot. So those will go to Pro League teams and possibly, if there's spots left over, to Challenger League teams. Outside of that, there is 4 spots that will come from the Bring Your Own Computer tournament. So Challenger League teams are welcome into that as well as anyone else, any other teams. I mean, if a Go4 team wants to show up and thinks they can compete, go for it. However, there is, I believe, a limit of 16 teams for that as well. So it's first come, first serve. The first 16 teams to sign up and confirm that they are there, I think, maybe on Friday. Like, they literally have to, like, say, hey, we're here, like, confirming our spot. Then those first 16 will compete for a chance for those final 4 spots to fill out the full competition to 16 teams. So I believe that is how it will work.
I think they are still looking into the proper settings for the rules and how the game is going to work overall. Because there were some complaints because some admins were deciding what map are going to be played and like small details like that, but it felt odd.
That, but...
I mean, I'm down too, as long as it's done like properly. Like if you know the game, if you know the match
way ahead of time, like it needs to be notified like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I'd say if you know 2 weeks ahead of time the maps that are going to be played, I feel like it could actually be a big benefit.
But like, I don't want it to be like, hey, you're going to be playing plane, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it needs to be map pool, like the normal map pool for sure. But speaking of maps, we're seeing some interesting trends in terms of the maps for this season. Like, what?
One thing. I wanted to add something more on the Millennium 1-Up game, and maybe Vitality 2 Penta. Bathroom in Border.
Oh,
that worked well.
Worked too well.
It worked well. I want to see more of it, for sure.
I honestly don't think it was necessarily because it was a great hold. Obviously, I made my opinions known on the broadcast in terms of what I thought was poorly played on that. And obviously, we didn't really get to see how that would have worked out. So maybe, who knows, maybe I'm completely wrong and off base. I'm like, oh, you're a gold level player, Mzo. You don't know what you're talking about. Maybe I don't. But I do know that they didn't really look like they put in the right attempts to counter that. The first time was obviously a surprise to them, but the second time it just felt like, I don't know, guys. I don't know if 1-Up just really didn't know how to play that, weren't prepared for it. Maybe more teams need to prepare for that bomb site, just in case, because I don't think there's a ton of different ways to hold it. You're mostly holding it from above.
Mostly,
but I think
yeah.
The castle stuff, the castle strats, I mean, obviously threw a big monkey wrench in them, but they had ways to counter it to an extent. Although, as I said during the Pro League broadcast, they did have the limitation that because they brought just the Hibana, they were only able to open the wall and then have 1x Cairo left. So that not planting when they had the opportunities to was a little weird.
He waited a long time to do it, that's for sure. But I mean, he knew that whenever he was trying to plant, he was gonna get peaked. But that probably just mean, try to find somewhere else to plant.
He still did. He still went to plant and got peaked, but they were there to counter it, which they could have done any time earlier. So I don't know. Either way, like hindsight's 2020. Of course, it could have gone down anyway. I would like to see another bomb site that is viable and that works, though. So don't get me wrong. I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit. I would like to see that work, though. I would like to see customs played more as well, which we did see it played at least once and it worked. So I feel like customs just still isn't tried enough.
There was a lot of, well, I say a lot, but more than we're used to of customs back in the season before the Invitational. I think EG played on it. Penta did play on it too.
Yeah.
And it kind of got into, people forgot about it. It just went away. And hopefully we'll get to see it like come back because it's an interesting bomb site.
Yeah, I'd like to see all 4 bomb sites viable, and I don't think that's a huge ask, but Bathroom Tellers is a weird one. If they bring the right operator lineup to counter your setup, I think it's very difficult.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not a bomb site you want to have if they know you're going to go there.
You can't make it a consistent pick
No.
because then people could counter. And I think that's part of the reason, like I said, it worked. And I think also part of the reason you won't see it become part of the meta is because it only works when it's not part of the meta, at least right now. So we'll see. Who knows though? Maybe future operator changes or because we'll get
Make
balance
it work,
changes.
maybe, yeah.
We might get some operator reworks even in the DLC because they said they're pushing it to those, which to me implies that they still will be doing operator reworks. So there's a chance that who knows, maybe the meta in this next season after DLC will be totally conducive to some different bomb sites that we haven't planned for. Who knows? Maybe something will work out all of a sudden for Kitchen on Oregon. So like there's chances some of the lesser used bomb sites that people have tried but never been able to really get to work will finally work. I would like to see that, but I honestly have zero idea if that'll be the case.
Yeah, well, hopefully we get operators like Mira who made new bomb site viable. 'Cause that's just great. The more bomb site viable, the best it is.
Yeah, we'll see.
With a
But
new
what?
No, you go.
It was still interesting to see like how the maps have been shifting over time. I mean, like for example, still no skyscraper. So
Still no skyscraper. You're right.
If there's no seeding matches for us to see, then as far as we're concerned, there was 0 skyscraper this season. Especially if we don't see it at finals, and it's like this is maybe one of the only seasons where we've not seen a map the whole season, like one particular map. And there's nothing terribly wrong with that map. It's just no one wants to play it in this meta at all, which is like it's a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way that you don't necessarily want to prepare for a map that you're likely to get banned against you anyways and not get to play. So it's like you almost need to do it against a team that always relies on the other team banning skyscraper and be ready for it. But it's such a niche case that it just continues to be the case that teams are just going to ban it if the other team doesn't. But we see this kind of shift back and forth between some of the maps. So like we're talking about some of the more balanced maps, for example, were Bank and Consulate and maybe Cafe. But this week, for example, we saw those 3 kind of dying out. And then some of the lesser balanced maps like Border and Oregon. Well, Border's been okay, but Oregon definitely not this season, like kind of making more of a comeback. So it's been like kind of up and down. And then Clubhouse, this weird fluctuation in the middle, which is honestly, I think, a terrible map right now for the current meta. But we still see it, especially in Latin America for some reason. And so that's been in there.
And I'm just throwing it out right now. We're going to see a whole lot more of new Clubhouse, I assume.
I hope so. I would love to see that debut. Like I said, at Austin, if nothing else, like we could use that as a debut kind of LAN where things can be a little bit different.
I think they said it's coming out when it's ready, right? So no real.
Yeah, I feel like they almost like implied season 8 would have it, but
so.
it seemed pretty like
Please
they must have had it pretty far along. So
just give it to me.
Yeah, we need it. We need to rotate that the old Clubhouse out for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to see some more rotation changes like we've talked about before. So we won't get too into that. Some previous episodes we've discussed that quite a bit. So hopefully we'll see the map pool be a little bit different next season because we're gonna have 6 months of it. So but I do think Border is one of the most balanced maps. Yeah, I agree with Finn on that. I think Bank and Consulate in this current meta have been very balanced, like Bank especially. Consulate's depends on the teams really.
Well, Border is nice because, there's multiple bomb sites, and the A and B bomb, more often than not, are both viable option to attack. Sometimes on maps, you'll see, there's a B and an A bomb site, but the A bomb site really is the only one you can attack because the B one is just too, deep into enemy territories. So it's really not worth it, to go there. But on Border, it's not the case so much. So if you look at Armory, you can attack both sides. If you look at Vents, there's push for both sides. If you look at Bathroom now, you could probably push both sides too. But we don't have enough Bathroom to really make a point about it.
Yeah.
You could probably push both sides if you attack from Workshop. And then Customs, we've seen people plant, jumping in the window planting, and we've seen just Vitality plant on the Beeper side, or Passport, coming in from Passport. So it's a map that bomb sites are viable, and the bombs in the bomb sites are also viable to attack and defend. So that's great.
Yeah. I guess this week at least we had a much closer to 50-50 between attackers and defenders. It was about 51% defenders win according to the infographic that was provided. So assuming those stats are correct. Why are you telling me 55% attack, Finn? Unless he's talking about Bank specifically. Oh yeah, that was Bank specifically. Okay, stop trying to mess me up here. Yeah, 51% overall is what it says. So That's a lot closer to
Closer.
balance this week. Yeah, I mean, but we see some heavy swings back and forth. But it's interesting to see that it's 51% with the maps being more so border and Oregon this week, with a little bit of coastline in there, which was nice. That was very defensive heavy. Maybe that's helping because that was like 58%. So that's probably helping balance out the numbers a little bit, and that teams were really doing, I guess, a good job in terms of holding kitchen and penthouse a lot. So I don't know, it was pretty good.
It was, and Lion is still up there in the pick rate game.
Yeah, no surprise there. I mean, just one of those ones you just can't not pick them. I mean, 49.5% this week as well, our win rate. So like that's pretty
Yeah,
good.
the
I
win
guess
rate
ways
is
to make some
not.
coin flip, but
Yeah, the win rate is like 50. It's no, he's not. He's played a lot, but he's not the main factor. Attack wins.
yeah,
Crazy.
it's weird. I mean, stats are funky things. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's numbers. Like we spoke about earlier. It's numbers. It's hard to put a number on like stats like communication, coordination, timings, and all that
Luckily, I
stuff.
think at the moment, SiegeGG definitely has the best stats around. So that's helpful. At least we get a lot of stats. We just have to try and make sense of what they actually mean. It's the hard
Hmm.
part.
And not make hasty conclusion. Really.
Yeah. But either way, like it's been an interesting season in terms of regards to Lion. But I think it's also been an interesting season for a lot of other operators, and I think that's something that can easily get forgotten when everyone's focused on Lion. That it's given a lot of different operators time to shine and be played, and even see like for some reason Thermite making more of a comeback this season, I think, than some other seasons. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't have the stats in front of me to compare them, but I feel like Thermite is doing fairly well this season, and that's not necessarily a direct result of Lion. But it's like more of a tangential thing, I think. So it's I don't know the interesting effects on the way people play the meta, and like it's easy to try and draw conclusions on it's because of this or because of that, but it's like each team makes their own decisions their own way, and so we're kind of aggregating all those decisions into pick rates and assuming that they all mean the same thing and that one number means something, but
Sure.
every team does everything for different reasons. So we kind of gloss over, I think, a lot of important details by just focusing on stats.
Yeah. There's definitely shortcuts being taken there. Explain,
Yeah.
stuff.
Also, Mute. Yeah, Mute's
And
been nice this season. I think Mute's always been good, but like he has more. He counters more things this season. So
Mute's gun is just the best. It's the best. Just put an
yeah,
ACOG on it. I heard people like who wanted to put an ACOG on it. Please don't. He's gonna be OP.
no, that's something that people were calling for a long time ago because his MP5 is nice, and a lot of the people with
The
MP5s get
MP5 is
ACOGs
just
like
good.
Rook and Doc, but
MP5K
we've
is just the best.
yeah, we've actually seen a fair amount of Rook played because of somewhat because of the ACOG and armor, and I imagine hitbox and stuff this season, which has been interesting. Like he's not like top pick or anything, but it's
No.
been more so than I think we are used to seeing him.
Yeah, I think people mostly pick him for the ACOG.
Yeah,
I
we
mean
see like Slash play him a lot.
the Rook plate really is only useful to deny grenade.
I think
You don't die
I think
from
it's
a grenade
ACOG
with
plus
it.
his hitbox because we see
Yeah, the headbox is
a lot of
pretty
Rook
bad.
played like people like Slash stuff. A lot of Rook being played prone feet first. And so his hitbox is already hard to hit his head because of the way his animations are, the way his body build is. It's very easy to hit other parts of his body that don't count as
Yeah.
his face. Yes, I know 3% pick rate is low for Rook Split, but that's pretty high for Rook in general. I think because, like I said, because they're using him for these certain sites where they can hold these long angles with the ACOG and not get hit in his head hitbox and then just take a lot of damage. I mean, he's not always laying prone, but I think we've seen that work fairly well. Like from people like Slash playing on CEO and stuff, it's been a thing somewhat.
And that brings me a point that whenever I see list of things that I'd like fixed in Rainbow Six, blah blah blah, and then you see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's always that one missing. That is weird ass animation. Please get rid of it, because sometimes just being Flash, you start to wave at flies around you like that, and you're like, oh my god, I'm Flash, and then you just tank headshot with your hands because the bullet gonna go through your limbs. Which is a problem because a lot of headshots I feel like are being blocked that way.
Yeah. It's interesting that there's the issues with the way your body works in the game. Depending on the animations of your character, you may block more headshots than others. Depending on the way your hitbox distorts when you change stances as well. Like it's
Hmm.
almost like we haven't gotten down to fighting game level detail yet. Where like in fighting games, you know the exact positions of hitboxes as they transition animations and the frames, and they get super insane with that stuff. And that's like I bet we have like a huge amount of detail as well with that. We just can't see it. We just can't track it as well, maybe because we're not fighting each other the same all the time the same way you are in a fighting game. And so there's probably a lot of that could be exploited with that in terms of how the hitbox works. And I think it makes people that plus hit reg makes people feel like there's a lot more RNG in the game than there really is. And it's not necessarily RNG. It's just that the complexity of things like hitbox, pawn rotations, trying to sync up things with ping and hit reg and all that stuff. All those factors aren't RNG. They're just so many small variables that can make it seem like you got screwed by something.
And just slowing down animation and reducing the amount of animation there is would be, I think, a long way into making the game more
Yeah.
consistent when it comes to hit reg. Because a lot of time it feels like, oh, I got a headshot, but no, there was a hand, the animation was a little bit slowed down, and the game registered you picked a hand even though the hand was not there anymore. And it's just, it feels sloppy when it's really not. It's just weird animation, and the amount of it that's just breaking the game.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there just needs to be a full competitive review of a lot of things that we take for granted in the game, like animations, like things that are in the game for a reason that's not competitive,
Mm-hmm.
and look at if there's a way to like keep their original purpose. Like, oh, hey, this hand waving in front of my face thing is trying to convey that I'm blinded, so that the opponent can know that I'm blinded, or that like so it makes sense to others to see that. And maybe there's a way we could convey that same information without screwing up the hitbox, or like think or not screwing up the hitbox, but blocking headshots, which are important at the competitive level,
Yeah.
but also would still make sense at the casual level. And just like I don't know, I feel like that maybe that'll take time, but that's something that this game will have to steadily go through in terms of reviewing. Because you take something like Counter Strike that's a bit older and has a lot more simplicity to it, doesn't run into the same problems the same way because this game has a lot more. I mean, this is a company that comes from doing more single player games, kind of dipping their toes further and further into the competitive space. And so I think there might be stuff that they just take for granted that they don't think about, the assumptions that they make that need to be adjusted for competitive play.
And it's just like, I know Ubisoft is saying they want Rainbow Six to be competitive and it's there to stay. But sometimes on a lot of like topic, it feels like they're, on the edge of both sides. They're like, we want to be competitive,
Yeah,
but we don't want to fully go into competitive because the game is called Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, and people are used to Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six being tactical shooter. But it's not. It's a competitive online FPS. Just make it a
yeah.
competitive online FPS.
Well, I mean, that interview with Leroy that was out not too long ago definitely highlighted some interesting ways that they make their decisions, or the
Yeah.
ways they've prioritized stuff. Like, it's definitely, I think, been a learning process for them, and I think
Oh, for
they've made
sure.
some good decisions and some bad decisions, and some ones that were like just coming from a different thought process, or and there's different designers there, and I'm sure they all have their own approaches, and that kind of meshes weird.
And I mean,
So
we're talking Ubisoft here. It's a big company that moves
yeah,
slowly. But
sometimes moves
every time
people
they make a
around as well.
decision, like Rainbow Six, I'm sure was a big bet. They're like, all right, this game is gonna fail because
No,
they're
it was
they're
a
used to ship a
yeah.
game. Like, you work 3 years, you ship your game, you work on it maybe a month or two, fix bugs, and just make the community happy, and then move on to the next one. But that's
I'm
not
pretty
Rainbow
sure they didn't
Six,
have
and
any
that's
faith
a
in this game.
learning that's a learning experience for them. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's working well, and it shows that they want to put more time and more money into this. Rainbow Six, wonderful game, I'd call it, even though
Yeah.
it's shit sometimes, but we kind of love it anyway. It's like the crazy ex-girlfriend. You kind of liked it, but it's yeah.
It's just there's not really anything else like it, and it's not like at least they're not taking the Blizzard mentality of
No.
like, oh, let's just release a casual game and then lie later and say it was meant for competitive, like they've done like I don't know every game they've released in like the last 5 or 6 years. Oh, this game's just casual. Don't worry about it. Oh wait, there's money in esports. Never mind, there's tournaments now. Like
Yeah.
so many other games now that have done that, and at least the mentality from this was clearly meant to go towards esports post release because they started up pro league like 2 or 3 months after the game's release,
Mhm.
and that's a big gamble on esports if a game isn't meant to be for that. So they at least had the right mentality coming out. And yeah, of course, year one was really, really, really bumpy, but
It was
like
rough.
you got to get that over with. Like, just I think it was a hard thing to do, but I think it was one of the best things they could have done to make sure to get it to the place it's at now. Without those early sacrifices, like this game probably wouldn't be this good at the moment.
I mean, they like it's with all the shit we give them about the game and how it's going and where it's going. It came a long way. If you look back on season one, even the beta, it came a long way if you look at it today, that time. And I think season three is just gonna be even better. There's a lot of stuff for competitive that's coming, and it's good. Just changing the
Yeah.
format, just changing the ban phase. They put time into it, and it like the ban phase is probably not something we'll see in casual or ranked. It's only meant for pro league, I
Well,
think.
I think he said in the interview that like they were planning to eventually bring it to like ranked. I don't know about
But
casual. I
I
can't see
mean,
them putting a casual. But
and if it's not in ranked instantly, then it means it was made mostly for pro league, and then they want to
yeah.
roll it back down to ranked after that, which is great. That means they're putting priority on competitive, which is great.
Well, I mean, the nice thing is like when you put it in a custom game setting like that, and you do stuff that could be custom game options, it's a nice way to say like we're introducing this, but we're not necessarily forcing it on all of you. Like the way it is with that and tactical realism, for example,
Yeah.
is something they've never forced on anyone. They just introduced it and then put it in custom. I mean, I would like to see them find maybe a version of tactical realism that is like an enhanced version of Pro League without going too far. Because I think, unfortunately, right now, tactical realism I think is maybe a little too hardcore
Maybe for the
for
game,
them.
yeah. I don't think the game is meant to be played around tactical realism.
Maybe in the future though, they can
You
find a
know,
compromise.
community tournament for charity or something. That could be great.
Yeah.
Make for a
Yeah.
laugh. There's going to be a lot of team kill. That's for sure.
Maybe we should try and convince them to do the all-star match on tactical realism.
Ooh, that'd be good.
That would be a lot of TKs.
That would be a lot of TKs. I'll tell you that
Yeah.
much for sure.
But yep, I think that pretty much wraps up for
Yeah,
today. Like
I think we went
we'll
around
definitely have
a lot of
yeah.
stuff for this week. I don't think there was much more than that. I mean,
No.
nothing on
know who's
Latam
going.
since we know who's going. I think
Yeah,
that
and APAC already had decided. So
yeah, so no game this week.
yeah. But hopefully, by the next weekend, we'll have an idea more going into the future. If there's anything else exciting happening in terms of like when the DLC release will be, or when the mid-season reinforcements might be, or anything like that. What's going on with all that? Hopefully, might be some news. And then, of course, the Challenger League finals and the seeding matches that will be happening this week.
Yes.
We'll have to talk about. So we'll definitely see you guys next Sunday, and then we'll have to try and figure out going forward from there. If we can consistently do Sundays, I mean, obviously, we might not have as much to talk about. So yeah, it's hard to say. We would like to get some guests though, and I know we've been slow at getting guests wrangled up. So if any of you watching this are someone that would like to be a guest, that makes sense to be a guest on here, definitely hit us up. And we try and do that. We might even be able to just do guest shows for the weeks where we don't have matches to talk about, so that we can kind of bring you guys something every Sunday. So hopefully that'll work for everyone. But enjoy the rest of your Sunday and the rest of the week until we see you guys next weekend.
Bye bye.
So yeah.